All right, so welcome to the last class of Enhance Your Psychic Senses. Today we are going very deep, a place I've never seen another psychic class go, and we're going to learn the language of the Oversoul. We're going to learn the language of your soul in your life. And what I mean by that is, we are the creators of our life. Every single little detail outside of us is created by our higher self, with us. And the more you can understand that, the more magical life becomes, because then you know how to change it. So if you don't like certain things on the outside of your life, you can learn how to work with that, how to shift out of that, and how to put more things in your life that you want. And that is really cool. So we're going to work with the Oversoul today, and we're also going to work with how your guides communicate with you in the outside world, to work through your energy to make things show up in your life. We're also going to work with the tools that we have here so we can interpret what our guides, what our spiritual energy, what our Oversoul is really channeling through us, so that we can understand it all. Because all this symbology can be very confusing, and if we don't know that it's there, we can just not even see it. It can be very difficult to understand something when you don't even know it exists, right? So we're going to change all that today. We're going to be talking a lot and really just doing some inquiry. And then at the end, we're going to do an Oversoul meditation so that we can start to connect with that aspect of ourselves and get some information. But first, I'm going to explain what an Oversoul is, because not many of us really get that far. We normally just stop at the soul, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with not knowing what an Oversoul is. But I wish I had a little, I wish you could see me right now, because I'd draw a picture for you. Maybe I'll put a picture on, that's what I'll do. I knew there was a reason I didn't give you the handout yet, and now I know. It's because I need to put a picture of how the Oversoul works on it. Got it. All right. So you don't need any kind of handout today. We're just mostly going to be talking. You'll have the handout for afterwards, and it's going to be so that you can use it in your life. But for now, just relax, grab some water, and put your feet up, because you deserve it. Okay, so just to take a little a survey. Has anyone heard of an Oversoul or knows what an Oversoul is? You can press star 2 if you have. I won't pick up. I just want to get a feel. So press star 2 if you've heard of an Oversoul, or let me know on the webcast. Deborah says hello. Hi. Deborah was with me on the live cast earlier. Awesome. Okay, so it looks like one person has heard of the Oversoul, and that's great. That's kind of what I expected. So think about these steps of our energy for a second. Right now, we're most familiar with who we are now, with our personality self. It's the part on the sun ray, right? If the sun is source or God, we have a sun ray that is us, and that goes all the way down from source to the earth. The part that we're most familiar with is us, our personality self, me with my purple hair and my name Rachel. And that's the part of the sun ray that's hitting the earth. Go up a step, right? And you get my higher self. Go up a step from that, you get my soul. Well, if you go up another step, what you get is an Oversoul. And an Oversoul is actually many people. So an Oversoul is like a spider. If you picture a spider now, and it has that big body, and it has 8 legs coming off of it. Imagine that there's one big soul for 8 people, all right? And those 8 people still go down from, let's think of it this way. The cloud is the Oversoul, and then 8 sun rays shine through that cloud, okay? So there's 8 different people coming off that one cloud, coming out of that one Oversoul. They're related. They're like cousins. If you saw someone on Earth that had the same Oversoul as you would feel very connected to them, okay? You don't normally run into people with the same Oversoul, just so you know. You can feel connected to people like you've known them forever for other reasons too. But if you did see one, you'd feel like, wow, you're my long-lost brother or something like that. You'd feel super connected. So that Oversoul is a generality. It has many aspects in it. It has a theme to it. Like one Oversoul may be focusing on spiritual development and psychic development of those people. And so all the people coming out of that Oversoul will have that theme within them. But they'll still be individual people. They'll still have their own interests, their own way of talking and being in the world. And they won't be cookie cutters of each other, but they'll have that same theme of spiritual and psychic development running through their lives, and that's what they're interested and curious about. So I hope that makes sense, because if you think about it, it's just a natural step down from source. If we went from the source, which is all that is, it's the connection of every single person alive, everyone that's ever lived has their energy in there. And then we immediately went to our individual soul. It feels like a big step between them. And so what happens is there's intermediate steps. And one of those is the Oversoul. And so we gradually step down from all that is to some of what is to us. And that's how this whole kind of world is working at the moment. And it's interesting. You don't normally ever have to think about it. It's just that when we want more information about who we are, we don't have to stop at our soul. We can go to the Oversoul to get more information about becoming more and developing more and changing the outside world and letting more spiritual energy down into us so that we can grow as people and become more enlightened. So if that makes sense, nod your head. If it doesn't and you want more information or clarification, press star 2 and I'll answer your question. And I'll just check the Q&A real quick. Okay, Chris said yes. So she may have been saying yes, that she knows what an Oversoul is or has heard of it. So that was, thank you, Chris. All right, well, it looks like we don't have any questions about that, which is cool. So, we have one here. Let's see. This looks like Donna, I think.
Yep.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. I'm sorry. I just wanted to know, you don't mean literally 8, though, right? Like the Oversoul can have more than 8 or fewer than 8, right? Like
yes.
when you were saying a hypothetical number? Exactly,
yeah. It can have hundreds, I'm sure.
Okay, cool. That's what I didn't mean to complicate things, but just got
No,
caught
that's
up.
a great question. I love it.
Thanks.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, so your Oversoul does not necessarily have 8. It can have hundreds. It can have 2. There's really no rules, but I think it is a larger number than what I was using as a guide there. But I just wanted you to get the visual of those spokes coming off of that one thing, and that's about it. So to make it even more interesting, the lives that are coming off of that Oversoul don't even have to be living at the same time, because time doesn't exist. So remember, you're living all of your lives simultaneously. all your past lives, all your future lives. You're living them all right now, which is what makes our emotions so damn complicated, because we can be fine one minute and then totally a mess the next. And it's just because we're processing things for all of our lifetimes at the same time. And also, your oversoul may have lives on different planets, different universes, all over the place. So it's not necessarily that all of the beings having lives from your oversoul are here on Earth. They're probably not. And so that's why there's a good possibility that you'll never see or meet anyone that's sharing your oversoul with you, though you could. And that's a question that you can ask certain channelers even, or psychics. Like sometimes they can tell you who you share your oversoul with, which is, it's just a vanity question really, but it can be really interesting. So that's just something that you should know. And those people, again, are like cousins. They share a theme with you. So it's always good to know. All right. So the main way we can communicate with our oversoul is through symbols. And the way it's going to feel in your everyday life or even in a meditation, because you may not understand what that symbol means, is like you're dreaming. So think about when you're dreaming and you're in a totally bizarre situation, but you know what it means. It's just implied. Like, you know, this guy will walk down the hallway. You've never seen him before in your life, but you're like, oh, that's Larry. He's a plumber, and I knew his wife, and he's got 2 children, and he lives on Park Street in that big brown house. You know, you've never seen him before in your dream. He's never appeared before, but you know his whole story. It doesn't make sense. You just have that knowing feeling. There's no way to check it out. There's no way to see if anyone else feels the same way. It's just a knowing. So when we're in that meditation later, that's the feeling I want you to look for. And often, psychic information, just when you are in readings and asking for things, that's how it's going to feel too. You may see a strawberry-colored S or a box of tissues, and what you feel it is important, not what anything else will tell you. Okay? That's what to look for. That inner knowing feeling of, oh, I know what that is. That's what the answer is. All right. So that all makes sense. I'm sure we've all had that feeling of having a dream and then just knowing what something means. And we will do the Oversoul meditation later in the class. But first I want to talk a little bit more about you being the creator of your life and how that shows up. So we can tell that we are perpetuating something, that we're creating our life if we look at our own patterns. And, you know, we'll all notice that certain things tend to happen to us over and over and over and over again. And sometimes it's not even that subtle. Like, I'm going to give you a totally personal experience right now, and it's really just because it's on the top of my mind, because I was thinking about it yesterday, and I put the whole thing together. So I have always felt a little removed from people. I've never really felt like I fit in. I never really felt like totally relaxed and in sync with someone. There's always been a little wall in between me and people. I never did it on purpose. It's just I've been that way since I was a tiny little child. In grade school, it translated into things such as me not expecting to be invited to my friends' parties, even though we were like best friends. And then, you know, and that's still happening into adulthood. But also me realizing that even now in my relationships with, you know, loved ones and such, I always feel like I'm responsible for myself, like pulling my own weight and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, for instance, I've been with my boyfriend for years now. We bought a house together. We live together. He's told me a million times that his money is my money too. And I just never integrated that. I never really accepted that. I've always just felt like, well, that's nice that he's saying that, but it's not really true. Which of course is not true because he's just amazing. So you kind of get what I'm saying. I felt always like there was this little gap between me and another person, no matter who it was. Now, the other part of this, that's the theme that's been playing out my entire life. But the other part is that whenever I've been in a serious relationship, there has been someone come in and break that up. So my inner pattern was that I've always been removed from people. I've never been totally close with people. And I'm manifesting someone to come in and make that true. Okay, so see, that's how I'm actually the one creating that. And the part that's not so subtle about it, beyond the fact that it's been a repeating pattern, is that that person has always been named Sarah. So you may have things in your own life where there's always been someone named something specifically who's annoying to you. Like, there's another name in my life, and it's okay if you're named this, so don't worry, I won't stop talking to you, but it happens to be Lisa. I had a friend who things went crazy bad with named Lisa. My boyfriend's ex-wife is named Lisa. I have friends who also have things with the name Lisa. That's just a pattern that I'm creating so that I can see that none of this is real on the outside. And the thing with the Sarah is that there was a Sarah who dated my husband when we were engaged that I didn't know about at the time. And then there was a Sarah who, a different Sarah, who my husband cheated on me with after that, like right before we got divorced. And then there was another Sarah who came along and decided to sleep with a boyfriend I had after that. And then there was another Sarah. So don't worry, everything is great with me and my boyfriend now. There is no intermediary. But I just wanted to show you that we are the ones doing this. We are the ones creating these things because we're not dealing with and moving past our original patterns. My original pattern was that I felt separate from people. But since I never realized it and I never did anything about it, I never healed that, it's showing up in my world as those Sarahs. Okay? And so if you can look at your own life and see if there's any perpetuating pattern that you have going on that you don't like. Maybe it's that your boss never takes you seriously, or that you always have just enough money, but you can never get more than that. Or, you know, you wanted to change careers for a long time now, but you haven't done anything about it. You just keep waiting for someone to give you a job. Whatever it is for you, don't judge it. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that there's something that you're not acknowledging and changing. And we set these up before we come to this planet in order to heal them so that we can grow and know ourselves as even bigger creators, and so that we can allow more soul energy down into our lives. So I know that this may not seem related to having an oversoul and connecting to your life symbols, but this is a symbol. This is a huge symbol in your life that's showing you what you're doing on the inside. All right, so outside world, outside life equals inside life. So there are many ways to heal your patterns. One of them is, one of my favorites is outlined in the book, Busting Loose from the Money Game and Busting Loose from the Business Game. I know they sound like money and business books, but they're really not. They're really about this whole pattern thing and your higher self. Another way is to just imagine that you're breathing in unconditional love and cultivate that frequency of unconditional love and breathe it into your heart and all throughout your body, and then let it go. That's a really great way to break through patterns. But the first way of just realizing they're there, that is the place of power that you can then go and find your own tool that will work the best for you. So I'm happy to provide you with resources to break free of those patterns if you want. I've got lots of videos on them. I can send you or put in the Facebook group if you'd like. But knowing the patterns are there and seeing them for what they are, not as something that you're doing to sabotage yourself, not as something that you're doing on purpose, but just something you came here with in order to heal. And now that you see it, you can heal it. All right? So that is a big part of knowing yourself as creator and learning the symbols of your life. So after you identify the patterns that are holding you back, you can then look for all the symbols that are in your life from, that are there to help you, basically. They're there to support you, that are answers to your questions. Like I said last week, some of you will only get information in your real life, all right, from your guides and your higher self. Some of you may not be at a place where your guides are going to talk to you in your head. And that often has to do with being able to be in the moment in your life. So we're here to live. We're not here to think. We're not here to imagine only. We're here to live presently in our life, and that's where everything is happening. And so those symbols will show up in your life in order to be, get you more engaged in things. So there are a lot of ways that symbols can come in, and some of them we created ourselves when we were born. And I'll get to that in a second. But some of them are coming real live, live time, when we need them, when we ask for them. And those can be really fun to deal with. So I'm going to go over a few of the ways that those come in and how to realize it. Okay. So the first way that you can answer your own questions or have your guides kind of channel through you is to use your intuition in the moment when you're picking things out. So if you're having a health issue or anxiety or anything else having to do with like your body and how you're feeling, what I like to do is I like to go to the health food store and go to the flower essence rack and just say to myself, all right, I'm going to pick the one that's most beneficial to me in this moment. And I'll close my eyes, even if it looks silly. I'll reach out my hands and I'll pick one out. And whatever it is, I go with, okay? And then the beauty of that is that they all have a little booklet next to them, or you can look it up online when you get home, of what it means and what it helps you with. And then you can learn what it is you're dealing with and how that essence can help you. So I don't have my flower essence booklet in front of me, but I see it. So I'm going to grab it and I'll read one to you as an example. Okay. And just so you know, this can also work with essential oils. It can work with homeopathic remedies or herbs. Just pick one with your eyes closed and then look up what it means, and that is the answer to what you're dealing with, okay? So let's say I go to the store, I'm not quite feeling well, and I picked up the lotus flower essence. And this says the patterns of imbalance are spiritual pride, inflated sense of self, out of touch with ordinary personality and humble tasks. The positive qualities are expansive and inclusive spirituality, ability to synthesize diverse life experience, and service to the spiritual world. So even if that doesn't quite make sense to you at the moment, that's okay. But it's basically saying that, if I'm feeling prideful, and we've all seen these spiritual warriors out there who, feel like their way is the only way, and you have to fight for it and work for it and, you know, go out there and kick butt and reach as many people as you can. And you feel this sense of overly prideful, egotistical, arrogant kind of energy. And I know I've felt that from some people in the past. They would do well to get the lotus flower essence because it would bring them back down into kind of a grounded situation. On the other hand, if you are feeling like the opposite of that, like you just couldn't even possibly, you know, go and be in service to the world or whatever, you may pick up lotus because it'll give you more of that energy to go out and do it. All right, so I love flower essences because not only can they help me balance my energy, but they can also help me understand what I'm dealing with at the moment. Because on the path of doing this, of being more psychic and being more in control of your life, there will be times when you have no idea what's going on with you and you just want some clarity. And you can give yourself that clarity by channeling the answer in real life, okay? Another thing to do is to look for animals that cross your path. So if you look out the window and you're washing the dishes and you happen to see a robin land on your lawn, look up the robin in a book or online and see what it says. So my favorite book for this is called Animal Speak by Ted Andrews, but there are numerous resources online that you can look up. You can search animal totem meaning, and you would insert the animal that you're looking up. You know, if you see a snake skin on the road, if you see a deer, if you go to a friend's house and they just got a new puppy, whatever animal is crossing your path, even if it seems like an ordinary animal in an ordinary situation, that is information. It would not be in your life if it wasn't. So just start to look at the outside world as a mirror for what's really going on inside of you. It can be super fun if you do this. Another great book if you're having issues with your body is Louise Hay's, I think it's called Heal Your Body. I'm not quite sure. It's a tiny little book. It's super great. So if you suddenly have some pimples or your jaw hurts or, you know, you have a pain somewhere, it will tell you what the psychological issue is. Like, I think acne or pimples is a sign of anger. You know, you're not expressing your anger, and so on. So you can really see what is going on with you in a really physical way. Another thing I like to do is I like to go and pick out crystals for myself. And by crystals, I just mean, you know, those like really pretty kind of mineral crystals that you get at metaphysical shops. I like those. So those also happen to have different meanings for every different one. And so what I do when I don't know what I want, or, you know, I can't listen to myself, I can't hear myself at the moment, I'll go to a shop and I'll look around and I'll see what makes my hand tingle, or what really looks the prettiest to me, even if it's a quote-unquote ugly stone. I'll see what has more sparkle, what is drawing me to it, or if I'm at a table where there's a lot of like those tiny little stones in jars, I will again close my eyes and see what I'm drawn to, and then I'll look it up. One of my favorite books is called The Crystal Bible, and that'll tell me what that crystal means. And it'll go into great detail about it, like what chakra that crystal works with, what aspects of healing that works with, if it's about, you know, processing father issues, or if it's about becoming more able to listen to angels. I mean, it really runs the entire spectrum of whatever you could be dealing with. Crystals are amazing. So that is another way to... Oh, I got a question. Hi.
Hi, Rachel. It's Heather.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So you're talking about, like, the flower essence and the oils and the crystals. So do you, like, always purchase the flower essence or the oils? Like, do you use them in your daily life? Does that help, or is it just the meaning of what they are?
Oh, that's a good question. So sometimes I buy them and sometimes I don't. I do have a huge supply of flower essences and essential oils, and I use them on a daily basis. And especially when I'm going through a big challenge. Like a couple months ago, I don't know, when we decided to move, I was feeling a little overwhelmed, and so I got a flower essence and I used it in my water a couple times a day, and it helps. What helps about it is not just that it provides me with information, but that it's a physical thing I can do to remind me that I have a body, you know, that we are grounded, that even though I feel more like a spiritual being, I'm still playing on planet Earth. So it's kind of like it brings my two worlds together.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thanks. All right. Yeah. So, and they're fun. I mean, I think it's a fun little treat to give to yourself. That none of them are very expensive. Essential oils can be, though. But, you know, and I've been in the place where, you know, I've wanted certain things and I have not had the money to buy them in the past. If you get into that situation where you're like really wanting to work with a certain frankincense that costs $80 a half an ounce, you can always channel the frankincense. All right? So anything can be channeled. Absolutely anything. And if you feel like you want something and you don't feel like buying it, literally sit down, have the intention that you're going to channel that certain thing, that certain flower essence or crystal or essential oil or homeopathic remedy, and just allow yourself to connect with it and then soak it up. So just ask that essence or crystal to send you their energy, and they will. So that was a great question. I'm glad that I got to remember that. So even if you don't have any money for that stuff, it doesn't matter. It can still help you. Okay, so another great book is the Encyclopedia of the Subtle Body, which I know Dion has mentioned before too. That's a great book because every part of your body, every chakra area, every, you know, color, it all means something, and that book has a lot of information in it. So like if your left pinky is throbbing and has a lot of energy in it, look it up in that book and it'll tell you what your left pinky means. If you keep seeing the color red everywhere, then look in that book, it'll tell you what red means. And it really just helps you to understand more how you are connected, how your spiritual energy is connected to the outside world. And on another note, it's not just live time where we get information, okay? So it's also set up when we're born. So our numerology of our name, of our birthday, and where the planets are when we're born has a lot of information for you. And I don't know if any of you here got to take my scavenger hunt for the soul class, but that was really great. We went through all your numerology, what it means, and all your astrology and what that means, and beyond. We did guided meditations to connect you with your power animal and everything. And that really shows us, like, we have a purpose. We chose it before we got here because all of those different avenues of information match up. Your numerology, your astrology, all of that, it all matches up, which is so cool to see because we always feel so disconnected from being a spiritual being. So we're not given a name or a birthday by accident. We choose everything, and it also corresponds to, you know, what we chose to do in this life. So it's kind of like if you forget what you're here to do, you can just go to those avenues to find out again. It's like a way to remind ourselves of who we are. And the books that I recommend for that are The Idiot's Guide to Numerology. Yes, because I'm really not a numerology geek. I find that the worksheets in that book are really good and really easy to use. And then there's Astrology for the Soul, which is also a really good book. And what that book goes over is the North Node for you and the South Node. And I'll explain that really briefly here. So, astrology is all about the date you're born. And everybody has a natal chart, which is where the planets were at the time that you were born. It has a lot of information on it. But if you're looking for soul purpose stuff, and like really what you wanted to accomplish in this lifetime, also called your Dharma, you can look at the North Node, and that's what it'll show you. Your North Node is your Dharma, your South Node is the equivalent to your Karma. So the South Node is like what you're comfortable with. In my case, I'll share with you, my South Node, this is what I'm comfortable with and what would kind of trap me in this lifetime if I stayed there, is like domestic work, like being a support system, doing the laundry, keeping a house, making everything neat and tidy and comfortable. And if you look at my life, that's where I gravitated to. I got married really young. I was always a secretary or an administrative assistant in my work. I was really good at it. It came naturally to me to be that. But I never felt really fulfilled there. And so it was a trap. If you look at my North Node, which is my purpose, what I want to do with this lifetime, the stretch for me is to be out in front, to communicate about, the different worlds that we live in, and to be more of a teacher and like a liaison between the unseen world and the seen world. And that's where I feel fulfilled. That's what I'm doing right now. And so you can know, and it's freakishly accurate if you look at your North Node and your South Node in the book. When I had my astrology done, she told me, I was a medium and I was a writer and I was supposed to communicate, but about the underworld and the afterworld and all sorts of things. And for someone who doesn't know me and would not consider herself psychic, just to look at the astrology literature and to know that is really cool. And it can be a very powerful way to remind yourself of who you are. So my book recommendation for that, and don't worry, all of these are written down, you'll have it after class, is Astrology for the Soul. So that is how in your real life you can connect with who you are on a spiritual level and to keep up knowing what symbols are coming your way. So I have a friend who sees red Audis all the time. Now what she would do is look at the color red and ask herself, all right, what does an Audi remind her of? What does the logo of the car remind her of? Right? And she'd use that knowing in that dream state to figure it out. She'd also use books and symbols to figure it out. Like every number means something. Every symbol means something. Look up sacred geometry to know more about symbols and like lines and things of that nature. So I know that's a lot of information and a lot of talking that I just did, but I can't really stress enough how important it is to take control of what your life looks like and to know that everything is there for a reason. There are a lot of modalities that come off of that, like feng shui, of placement and energy flow. Japanese Zen gardens and how they are so meticulous about what goes in there. Even clothing style, like some people have a very distinct and discerning style and it just doesn't feel right to them if things are out of place or if they're wearing a color that's off. All of this has to do with energy and of feeling in harmony with yourself, and you can cultivate that kind of oneness with your energy and your outside world if you just pay attention. All right. So I would like to get into an Oversoul meditation and then take questions because I know there will be some. because your oversoul will speak to you in these kind of cryptic ways, and it's a good idea for us to get used to feeling confused and to figuring it out for ourselves, as I don't want to just leave you empty-handed here. So before we do that, does anyone have a question about, the patterns in your life, or seeing what a guide is saying to you by looking at animals, or anything like that? Okay, so Deborah said a while ago, and probably when I was talking about patterns, that are these people who are always in your lives. Oh, about the oversoul. No, the oversoul people will not often be in your life at all. You probably never meet them ever. And she also had a little reading for me and said that she had to tell me that she heard my protective bubble is too big and my wall between people, your wall between people you experience. Yes, it is very true, and I've been working on that, about removing that wall. And it's been very interesting. So thank you for that, Deborah. And also, I know, Chris, you kind of gave me a little reading the other day, and I did even mention it in my live stream today, so I gave you some props there. All right, so no questions so far. All right, so I'm going to switch gears from talking to allowing, and you can do the same. So get out of listening mode and really get into being mode. You can grab some water. I'm going to have a sip of water. I'm going to shake it out. That feels good. So shake out your body. Turn off your mind. You can shake your head. Massage your jaw or your forehead or anything that's tight. Just pretend like you're going to sleep, like you're going to relax yourself. Make some noise. Have some ahs and sighs. That always helps too. Roll your shoulders back. Move your neck around. And relax. And start to breathe. Breathe deeply into your belly. Put me on speakerphone if you can. You can circle your ankles a couple times. Just release that tension that sits in your joints. Breathe into your belly and exhale anything that's not necessary right now. Any worry, any doubt. Congratulate yourself for being here now and wanting to communicate with your oversoul. If you want a little more info on what your oversoul can do for you, think about your soul as being your teacher in college. It's great teacher. They spend years with you, they know you. And then go to grad school, and then this is your dissertation advisor, right? Knows everything you're doing, knows every interest you have, reads your words every day, guides you. And there's a theme there. So your dissertation teacher has a specific theme. You're in that department with them. So we can get very high level information from your oversoul. All right. Relax, breathe. Get some appreciation going throughout your body. Imagine that the air you're breathing in is filled with tiny particles of love. And as that breath reaches your nose or your mouth, you start to feel it. You can feel the love enter your body. When it gets down into your lungs, you can feel that love reaching through your entire system, through your blood, getting soaked up by every cell in your body. Start to feel your toes become brighter. You can start to feel a smile come over your face. And you can just appreciate that that love is really you. You are the love you feel. You choose the love. And there's never a reason to be without it. Keep on breathing down into your belly, letting the love grow and circulate throughout your body. Feeling that natural smile on your face. And now imagine that you're surrounded by your own energy field, and that you're now in it. You're breathing that in. You're becoming identified with your whole energy field instead of just your body. So the breath you're taking in is coming from that energy field. You're now swimming in more of yourself. And as you continue to breathe it in, the feeling becomes more concrete, more real to you. And you can actually feel what is outside your body. You can feel around within your energy field and notice what it feels like behind you, what it feels like in front of you, above you, below you. Your senses have been expanded. And now I want you to feel the connection between you and your Oversoul. It may feel like a string connecting you up to your Oversoul. It may feel like a column of light connecting you. You may just feel brighter where you are. Or you may just have an internal knowing that it's happened. Breathe in that connection and just be curious. As you keep strengthening that connection and allowing more to come in, notice how it feels. Notice if you feel warmer or colder, heavier or lighter. Notice if your mind wants to go to a particular topic or memory. How does it feel to be connected to your Oversoul so closely? Keep breathing that connection in. And now in your mind, ask your Oversoul, what is your theme for me? It may be a knowing. It may be a symbol. Whatever it is, just allow it to be. And now you can ask your Oversoul what it wants you to know, how it can help you on your journey, and allow an answer to come. Keep breathing, keep feeling the connection. And once you have a communication, you can press *2 or let me know on the Q&A and take your time. So most of you have let me know that you've gotten something. And for the benefit of the people who haven't, I would love to ask you what it felt like, what you experienced. So if any of you who felt a connection would like to let us know what it was like for you, then press *2, because I think it would help the group. On the Q&A, Deborah said that her connection felt filling. And that's a really great way to explain it. So I'm curious if any of you on the phone would like to explain what you felt too. Okay. We're feeling a little shy today. That's okay. This is a very personal thing. Oh, I'm going to Heather. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So I just felt like very, very tingly, like all the way through my body, which was kind of different because I got that last week when a little bit in different places of my body, but it was just it was like a warm tingly, which is why it was kind of like when you have Bengay on, and like there's the icicle and there's the hot part of it. It was like that, so it was very intense, but all over my body. Which last week it was just in like places of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very interesting. It was kind of like, but you do, like, I guess I I was smiling even though like I didn't realize I was smiling until like halfway through.
That's cool. All right, well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so that's a really cool thing. And I will often say that a lot of that tingly, warm feeling is because there's more energy coming into your body. And so, like we talked about how the Oversoul is closer to Source, and so it's made of more energy than just your soul. And while your soul or anything else can give you the feeling of being tingly in your whole body, it's interesting that Heather felt that this week with that experience. So that's really cool. And I'm going to Donna. Hi.
Hey. Similar to Heather, I was warm, but I felt like a more of an internal vibration. Like my hands are on fire, but I felt like almost like I was kind of a little bit shaken in the way I'm sitting. Like it was very vibrative, but more internal. And then I was smiling also, and actually I was smiling pretty hard, but again, I was crying, not like ooh crying, but my eyes were crying, and I realized I knew that they were tearing, but I felt the teardrops actually land between my breasts, and that's what I was like, what's going on, you know? But yeah, and it was more of I wasn't crying out of like shame or I was just more so out of gratitude for for my Oversoul to be with me and put up with me for so many years. But it was sweet though too. Like I almost felt like I got this and it could have been my tears running on my cheek, but I almost felt like a hand lifting my chin up higher, like sort of like a be proud sort of situation. And I did find that my chin was raised a heck of a lot more to upward. Oh, and also my other connection was I felt it more so like I often will feel it in my third eye, but this was more like extended from my third eye all the way to the top of my crown, almost like a beam of light. And then at one point, too, not to keep on rambling, but I almost felt like, I guess it could have been because I was vibrating so much, too, but I almost felt like lightly levitating, but not like I was going up into the ceiling. But and it could be the type of papasan chair I'm sitting in, too, but I just felt light. Like without gravity type of light.
Gorgeous. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. That's awesome. Yeah, so those are all really common things to feel individually or together. And fabulous experience. So as you can see, it's a feeling, it's an inner knowing. Sometimes you will see symbols in your mind, sometimes you won't. And it's all about having your spiritual experience and your life experience be the same thing. So that is why we'll have experiences in our body, we'll have that inner knowing feeling, and we'll see things in our daily life, and we'll use physical things to treat spiritual things. So it goes back and forth, and it's all really one, and we're integrating those aspects so that we can grow. That's what the ascension is. The ascension isn't about having your spirit leave your body. It's about having your spirit more inside of your body so that you can do things that you can't normally do with your body, like not have to eat and fly and levitate and do all these amazing things. That's actually where we're headed. Not to make myself sound like a bigger kook than I already do, but we're headed in the direction, and it may take thousands of years. I mean, we're just evolving toward that, of having a fifth dimensional existence, which means that your body's cool and you can use it, but you don't need it to, you don't need food, you don't need sex to reproduce, you don't need cars to transport yourself. So we're headed there, and you guys are kind of on the leading edge of that by learning all of this stuff and by combining your spiritual experience with your physical experience. So yeah, you are awesome. That's great. So why don't we do it again now that we are more, I say, acquainted with our Oversoul, and let's try to vision something. Let's try to get some kind of symbol that we can take away from the experience, and so that we can start to learn our own language of symbology. So just have that as an intention. Again, it could just be an inner knowing. Like when I ask you to get a symbol, it could be that you feel sad or emotional or your toe hurts. But it could also be that you see something or feel a certain color. So just have an open mind about what the symbol will be, and we'll go from there. And again, when you're done, when you have something, just press *2 so that I know you've gotten there, or say like yes or got it on the Q&A on the webcast. Okay, so let's get back to our calm place. It's funny, I have to take off my glasses every time I do a meditation. It's a little symbol for me too. So just breathe. Release any worry or thought that came into your mind as we were speaking. You can scrunch up your face and release it. Give yourself a little quick scalp massage. It always feels good. Shake out your hands. You can yawn. Just relax. And now inhabit your energy bubble once more. Know yourself as the energy that goes beyond your body. Start to breathe in the energy outside of you and know it as your own. Feel the love within that energy bubble. Feel the love of your higher self coming into you. Feel the love of your Oversoul coming down to meet you. And if you need to stretch in order to let more energy in, go for it. We want to have a clear channel within our body to allow this energy in. Keep breathing in that energy that is you, and feeling that your Oversoul is connecting with you. And then whatever it is for you, a filling up, a string connecting you, or a beam of light, I want you to go deeper into that experience, or imagine yourself floating up that beam or that string, feeling yourself going through the dimensions, going through time and space to make it all the way to where your Oversoul is. imagine that you're going to meet your Oversoul. And as you travel there, you feel more connected to it. It feels more like a relative, more like a wise aunt. And when you get there, just take a moment to feel it. To allow the energy of your Oversoul to be even more inside of you. Allow your Oversoul to speak through you in a symbol. Ask your Oversoul to give you a present that will help you on your journey. And then wait for it and see what it is. Okay, if you're still waiting, just relax. Shake any frustration off. Take a big breath in, and when you exhale, know that you will have your answer. Okay, so if you did have an issue with that and you didn't receive any kind of knowing or symbol, it's okay. Just if you feel called to know your oversoul better, you can do it for homework. If you don't feel interested in it, then you can just not do that and practice the skills that you do enjoy. I got a really cool answer from Deborah in the Q&A on the webcast, and she said the first time the symbols were books, cats, and animals. Very cool and very, easy to look up in our everyday existence. And then the second time, the symbols were triangles and a lightning kind of lines. She says her oversoul itself is orange and yellow with white sparkles in a stretched oval shape. So that's very, very cool. You can always look up what a triangle means and what, lightning bolts have symbolized and what orange and yellow mean to you, and how it feels to you. And if you have any of that inner knowing about it, that's really great. If anyone on the phone wants to share their symbol or experience with us, you can. Otherwise, I'm going to have the rest of these 10 minutes that we have left on any question you have about the entire course. So how you can continue, if you have a question on something we did 3 weeks ago, whatever it is, I'd love to hear and answer your questions for the last 10 minutes we have. I'm sad that we only have 10 minutes left, but I am here for you. And if you weren't here in the beginning of class, I did mention that I'm keeping the Facebook group open. I will still be in there. I will still continue to add my insights. I know I didn't get to everyone about the spirit guide readings yet, so I'll do that. And you can still practice together. And I know a lot of you live closely, so you can always even form an in-person group for that if you want to. So keep that up. This is, way more than just talking to spirits and guides and seeing things. It's also about knowing that your life is more malleable than we often think it is, and it's about getting to a place where you can change your outside life at will, which is really cool, I have to say. So if anyone has a question about that, just press *2. Or if you want to share anything that's happened to you in the class that you want others to know about, or if you want to let me know, what your favorite part of class was. I'm really happy to know that too. So yeah, I will make another announcement in case you weren't here in the beginning of class. I don't seem to have any. Oh, I do. Hi, Donna?
Yes. Yep. I just have a very vague question. But between all the different dimensions that we live on and travel through, is Earth the most barbaric of all, or are there lower levels of where we're at?
I love that question. That's not vague at all. There are many places that are, you could say, worse than Earth, in that barbaric kind of way. It's cool because there have been worlds where, it's kind of been like Earth, where it looked like the people there were going to annihilate themselves, and they have, where it didn't turn around. And one of the main reasons why there are so many people on Earth right now that are from other places is because we were going to annihilate ourselves, but we turned it around. And so it's kind of like this huge, think of it as a movie. All these movies where, somebody almost goes too far and then they turn it around and they're like the good kid, right? That's kind of how we are. And it's really interesting to the rest of the worlds out there. Like, a lot of them are watching us and they're rooting for us and they're kind of eating popcorn and, seeing what they can do to help. And it's really a cool story if you can wrap your head around it.
Right on.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got a couple minutes. If anybody has a question, let me know. Let me check the webcast. Okay. Well, guys, I really... we got another one. Hello, I think this is Yawn.
Yes, hi. I have laryngitis and a headache, so...
Oh, no.
But hello, everyone, and thank you, Rachel. So you said that this life is supposed to be for living and not for thinking and imagining. I don't know. What do I want to ask?
You can take your time.
Yes. I assume what you mean by that is that we need and want to kind of work through things during our life. But obviously thinking and imagining is a part of it. Correct?
Yes, it's definitely a part of it.
And, the other thing that I wanted to say is it is kind of crazy when, to hear how multi-layered the world is, through what you say and, through other people whose works I have not read but listened to on tape, because that's my preferred way of getting information these days. All of these different layers. And is there a conflict? I mean, does everyone agree that the outer world, which most of us, don't see, don't know about, that it is that way, or is there a lot of dispute, as there is in any aspect of, the world, about, how people see things and how to attain whatever it is we are trying to attain. Do you understand my question?
Yeah, it's a fabulous question, too. So, and what I meant about, life is not really meant for thinking, it's and imagining. Of course, we are thinkers and we are imaginers, and that's all really fabulous, but those are really tools to help us live our life. And we can often get stuck in thought when we don't even realize we're doing it. Like if you've been thinking that you wanted to do something for 10 years, 5 years, but it never happened, we can almost feel fulfilled by the thinking of doing it because we're comfortable in thought. But when actually doing it is when we would really get the benefit of it. Like that's when we would get the experience and know who we are in that situation and so forth. And I often am confronted by that when I have friends tell me like, oh, I love to mountain bike, but they haven't mountain biked in 17 years. You know, like they haven't done it since, you know, their children were born or so forth. It doesn't mean that they don't love mountain biking, but it means that if you haven't done something in 17 years, you may think about it often, you may imagine doing it, but until you actually do it, you're kind of cheating yourself out of life. So that's just kind of what I meant by that. And the other thing is there is a lot of overlap between how people would describe like the dimensions of the world and how the world works beyond what we see. And if there's any kind of non-overlap or any kind of conflict, it's mostly just because we're all seeing the same thing and we're all experiencing the same thing, but we just have a different vocabulary for it. And that's really normal. So the same message will come through a different channel, you know, in as many different ways as there are people, because that channel grew up, you know, knowing different words or knowing a different language and, you know, putting things together differently. And there are, of course, real conflicts where someone will argue with another one to see it their own way. And we see that in religion as well, where, you know, some people are very rigid and it has to be some certain way. But for the most part, any kind of new channeling, they'll all pretty much say the same thing. And there's really no big dispute or like conflicting schools of thought anymore about all that stuff. It's pretty much like we kind of take it for granted that we all just channel the same thing and forget how cool that is. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
And, you know, a great movie to really show that is called Tuning In. And I believe it's on Gaiam TV, that website, and it might be on YouTube, it might be on Amazon or Netflix, but it's called Tuning In. And it's crazy. You watch this, it's all about different channelers, and they'll all say the same thing. And a lot of them know each other, but it's not like, you know, they're not present when they're channeling. It's really cool. I would highly recommend that movie.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and now I'm going to, I think this is Kalina in New Haven. Hello? Is it 901?
Yes, Kalina.
Okay, hi.
Hi. I have a question that anytime I seem to do any sort of meditation or bring myself to a higher vibration, about a day or 2 days afterwards, I feel myself almost going into like a depressive state, for lack of better words, where I just feel like the flip side of the lower vibration. I didn't know if you had any tips on like dealing with that or what that might be pointing to.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I just put you on mute too, so I'll pick you back up when I'm done. That's really common. When we start to really emerge, we'll find that we're noticing the different, you know, contrast points in our life. So, like when I started really turning my business around and like putting effort into it, I felt a real sadness about how I treated myself in the past and how I had kind of like ignored that urge to become more for so long. And I was really depressed almost, like, how could I do this to myself? How could I treat myself like that? How could I ignore my own calling and who I really am for so long? And I felt really sad and really depressed, even though I was doing exactly what I needed to do to turn it around. So it's kind of just like we're cracking our own shells, and we're letting all the stuff that we've repressed ooze out. And it may not be pretty, and it may not be really fun, but the best thing you can do is feel it, acknowledge it, really send love to yourself for doing it. Send love to yourself for meditating and for allowing yourself to grow and have that experience. And just like I said earlier in the call, like really cultivate that frequency of unconditional love and breathe it into your body and know that that's who you are. And that will really help you move through that sadness and allow it to pass, because it's obviously something that was in you and that you can now deal with because you're stronger, and it has to kind of voice itself, and then it can move on. So I'm going to pick up your line again, see if you have a comment. How was that?
That sounds great.
Okay, cool. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right. Awesome. And there was a question on the webcast that said, when was Earth's turning point? So I don't know exactly. I just know that there came a point when it was kind of like, decided. It was around the 2011, 2012 time, and we just kept hearing that, we didn't have to worry about things anymore, and everything was on the upswing. So it came from many different channels and many different areas and many different ways, and that's just what we were hearing about. If you're into this, oh my goodness, there's a whole other world for you to explore. I really love the channelings of Bashar, Bashar. And you can really understand how flexible our world is, how it's set up, like how there's parallel realities and different versions of you. And it's also something I go into in my other programs. Keep in touch. If there's ever anything that comes up for you, just ask it in the Facebook group, and I will do my best to answer it. And we can all practice with each other. Thank you so much for being here. It was really an honor. I love talking about this stuff and teaching it. So thank you for being in my world. And, don't be a stranger. Okay, guys. Lots of love, and I will talk to you in Facebook. Bye-bye.